What is going on? It's Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we're going to be doing a 2-round 2025 NFL mock draft. If you are new, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Below my face is my board. Yes, you're going to have an issue with it, but it's my honest opinion. If you want to know about these players, all of them that are featured below, minus Miller Moss, that's the new guy, are going to be having a video that is associated to them, so go check that out. I've already been going into 2024 All-22 to regrade players ASAP, and there are guys who've been moving up and moving down, so that's why I wanted to make this video. Below my board, all the great ways to get involved in the community. Take advantage of those sponsors, but the easiest way to do that is in the link tree in the description. Click that top link for UnderDog Fantasy. A big fan of them. I continue losing bets in there, but that's just because I'm not a very good bettor. But if you are and you want to have some more skin in the game, makes games more fun. I was really hoping Lamar would run into a touchdown last night, but that's not the case. But if you guys like to do that, you get to up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you first sign up when you use my code. So feel free to go check that out. Do it responsibly, do it legally, but have a good time. And let me know what you guys select. Again, follow me over on Twitter as well. I post all 22 tape over there. Let's get into this, though. This is not my draft order. I mean, I'm just going to borrow PFF's. And I already know PFF has a whole bunch of bullshit when it comes to not having all the players there. But I think it's the most professional site. I pay a crap ton of money for being able to use these features. So we're going to use it. So I do think Mock Draft Database, I appreciate the fact that they have a larger list of players. But at the same time, it's... You know, this is going to be more the consensus board, and then my board is going to be more of my own. There are guys who have not been updated. That's okay. I wanted to be able to watch guys who played in very translatable games, i.e. USC, LSU, Georgia, Clemson, etc. Let's get into this, though. Starting out with the Carolina Panthers, if they are the #1 overall pick, which I do not think they will be, but if they are, they're going Will Johnson. He let up 77 yards this week. Yeah, guess what? He had a pick 6 as well. People have bad days. You have a bad day. I have a bad day. We all have bad days, man. And the best thing you can do is that when you're having a bad day, you turn it around and do something that helps your team out. And that's exactly what Will Johnson did. Shout out to him. I mean, the whole entire defense. If we want to start getting on Will Johnson, why are we not getting on Mason Graham? Why are we not getting on Kenneth Grant? Both of those guys did literally nothing in terms of pass rush that entire game for Fresno State. 0 pressures for both of them. So keep that in mind as well. If you want, I'm not even blaming them for that matter of fact. The way that, people are trying to blame Will Johnson is just, everybody has a bad day. It's a week #1, man. So give him a little bit of a leash. That's why I didn't drop any of them in my rankings, but Will Johnson will be the selection. I think he's fantastic. Again, being able to rebound when you're having a poor game is the best thing you can do. If you're someone who is a downward spiraling person to where when things start going bad, things just get worse, 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 then most likely in the NFL, you're not going to be able to succeed because I can guarantee you Justin Jefferson's going to get one on you. And if you cannot bounce back from that, you are toast. And you are definitely not going to last if you cannot get back on track. So pick #2 for the New England Patriots. And this is going to be no trades. Just going to say that right now just because of the fact that it's 2 rounds, 1 video. It can get a little bit hectic. But I did do a trades mock draft very recently, and I will be doing one at the start of next week. But for the Patriots at #2, I think offensive line is the key position here to get, or edge rusher. There's just one of the two. So Nick Scourton, I think he's a really, really solid player. The problem is that he didn't look as explosive as he did when he was at Purdue. He added some weight, if I'm not mistaken, to get up to 280. So I think edge rusher is a good position to target, but it's something that we could try to get in round #2. I think the key position to target here is left tackle. And there's some really good ones on the table. Did they put in, of course they didn't put in Marcus Embo in here, but as you guys know, I'm a big fan of the Purdue right tackle. He's going to be like my Tali Fuaga this year. And y'all know I love Tali Fuaga way early last year. And it's why I tell you guys, be honest with your opinions, because if everybody's not saying something before the season, it's okay. If your guy is really as good as you think he is, he will show you or he will show them that they're wrong. And just learn from your mistakes or have them learn from their mistakes and just be proud of what you do, man. That's the way that you do it in life. But Will Campbell's fantastic. The only issue is potential arm length, but I think he's going to be a massive upgrade regardless. So we're going to be getting Will Campbell here at 2. Denver Broncos at #3. It is a sexy idea to bring Travis Hunter back to Denver. Not even really back. He's there right now in Boulder. I do like that idea. And he is someone who's very, very talented. The problem is, I don't think he's a corner in the NFL. The money speaks, and the top end wide receivers are still making roughly like 40% more than what the top corner that just got a massively larger deal than other corners is getting paid. So, with all that involved, I think it's just a smarter move for Travis Hunter financially to go after the wide receiver route. And I don't think the Denver Broncos are going to be selecting a receiver at number 3, especially in this class that has a lot of really, really good options. So I think the best move would be to get that second corner. You could also talk about offensive line here. I mean, I'm not super confident in a second left tackle at this pick. Even though I do have Will Campbell right next to Jack Nelson. Jack Nelson, it's TBD for reevaluation. He allowed 2 pressures this past week, which I still love the guy, but like we're talking about him near Will Campbell level, I'm putting the brakes a little bit on that for the moment. But we're going to be going Ben Morrison here. I think you just need to get the best players in the draft. Nick Skelton's someone you can definitely consider, but doesn't really seem to be a fit at all in terms of like the guys that you're losing, Browning, etc. Like I just don't think don't think that Skelton fits that mold. Ben Morrison's fantastic. You just paid a ton of money to Patrick Surtain, as you should, and he deserves more in my opinion, but that's just the corner market. You paid a lot of money there. There's a lot of value there. If you can end up saving money on a second corner by getting somebody who could be an elite number 2, I think that is the way to win. It's a way to build a really good franchise. The no-fly zone is going to be like that. Those are the most vaunted defenses, the ones where you're scared shitless to throw. And if you have Ben Morrison, who did a fantastic job week 1, versus who they end up facing, I'm tripping, the Texas A&M. If you get somebody who could genuinely lock down really, really good players, and you don't even have them as your best corner, like that's just the way to stop a passing team in a passing league. So I really do love that for them. And number 4 for the Titans, you could go after Travis Hunter here, and he can end up being Tyler Boyd's replacement. That'd be a really interesting option. Tetairoa McMillan could be the DeAndre Hopkins replacement, but I also think that this class has a lot of really, really good talent, and it is something that I'm personally perfectly fine with waiting on receiver talent for them. The position that I would want to go if they are at number 4 overall would be on the offensive line or in the corner position, mainly because, I'm a sucker for making corner duos. What can I say? But at this spot, this is where you start looking at offensive linemen. And, this is where I think Marcus Embo is going to be. He's going to be one of those guys who I think very heavily should be a top 10 player. If he ends up being at 310, 315, I don't think it's a no-brainer. I mean, he's extremely powerful. There's a lot of videos of him going around. Week 1, he was just absolutely thrashing dudes. But, I mean, this is a spot I would trade out of, just full transparency. But at the same time, I do think they're also going to be looking at edge rusher. I just don't see a tackle that's worth this pick besides Marcus. And at this point, I haven't seen enough tape from him versus translatable talent this year in order to be able to justify that. So I'm going to be going after the edge rusher position here. And Nick Skelton's fantastic. I do see them wanting to value a little bit more speed and a little bit more explosiveness than Nick. I think that it would be smart to be able to develop Nick in that regard and like basically shed him down in weight. But that's a big project. If I'm going to project someone who will be at this point, it's going to be Mikael Williams or James Pierce. And I think James Pierce is closer than Mikael Williams. Mikael is just a freak because he's 265. He moves like James Pierce, but at 25 or 23 pounds heavier. So that's where you're really going to have that debate there. But I really do like James Pierce. I think that he's an underrated run defender, and I like the idea of keeping him in Tennessee. So it's a little bit early. I think he needs some more polish, but if we are going to project who I think will continue to progress, having the foundation and run defense is super key, and I think you can work on your timing. So that's why it's like James Pierce may be my 33rd. Well, he's actually my 33rd overall player. There's 2 number 32s right here because I just added in a guy. But he may be my 33rd overall player, but I do think he will end up being in my top 15 come draft time. Number 5 for the New York Giants. Mason Graham's a nasty idea. Travis Hunter paired up with Malik Neighbors would be a ridiculous duo. Like, there's a lot of really, really good options that you can make here. And, Mason Graham just being on that defensive interior is super freaky. I do think quarterback is the way to go. I don't think they have Miller Moss in here. And I don't think that he's had enough time to be able to prove it. He's had 2 games. So I'm going to say realistically, he'd be a second round pick, but he'd be my guy for the Giants here. Connor Wegman obviously ain't. I mean, that was a pitiful performance. Carson Beck has moved up my rankings a little bit. Shedeur's done a good job, but I'm waiting for a more translatable game to reevaluate his grade. But Cam Ward's the guy who I'm getting excited about here. He is my QB2 at the moment, and he was regraded. And I thought he did a fantastic job versus Florida. That is a defense that has been relatively porous in the past. I love seeing Jalen Daniels on here as well. But Cam Ward is going to be the guy to get at pick number 5. He has the athleticism. He has the playmaking. He's been a lot more tempered with his processor, with basically doing the YOLO stupid throws. And you saw it flash during the Florida game where he ended up throwing that pick. Like, there is still that concern with him just making very foolhardy decisions. But I thought after that interception, he did a fantastic job choosing when to be able to be risky. And I think he did a very good job at doing that. And Florida is not a slouchy defense. I mean, they're not, like, I'm not going to use Florida as the foundation for what I say is success, right? But at the same time, that is a school that recruits very talented individuals. And it's a school that has a very talented defense. Even if they aren't the most applied on paper, we all know they have a lot of talent there. So Cam Ward did a fantastic job. That's why he's going to be my pick at number 5. Number 6 for the Commanders, I think offensive line's the way to rock. It's offensive line or edge rusher. It's one of the two, man. And I mean, you cannot go wrong by going Nick Skouerton here. But I'm just like a guy, I'm going to take swings on edge rushers later on far more than offensive tackles. And at number 4, I think James Pierce had that foundation where I'm really happy with it. With the Commanders, not so much. I think Kelvin Banks is a really high likelihood option. We haven't seen him versus some high-end talent so far this year. The whole entire Texans offensive line did a fantastic job, though, so shout out to them. But left tackle is super duper key. You could get Emory Jones to pair him back up with Jaden Daniels, but there's a risk of him being an interior offensive lineman. So we're going to be going Kelvin Banks. I think it's the most logical selection in terms of who should be there. And I like to blend my board with realism. Like, Kelvin Banks is not on your screen. But at the same time, I do have this realization that I want to give you guys my special twist on what I think the draft will be. And I think I owe you that. So at number 7, the Cardinals are going to be going Mason Graham. It's simple, it's easy. I think it's the right thing to do. For the Vikings, I think the easy decision would be Travis Hunter here. But the question is, do you want to take him as a receiver? Because I think that's what he is trying to be. If he is not going to be a receiver, do you go after him still? Or if he's going to be a receiver exclusively, is that still your target? I think it might be, because Travis Hunter talent-wise is so good that you could basically say, we will pay you probably, like, you will get your money. The cornerback market will adjust. And if you really want to, we will shift you to a different, like, we'll put you back at receiver if you really just don't want to be there. Like, I don't think there's too many issues with the Vikings. Like, quarterback-wise, I think, J.J. McCarthy, like, that meniscus injury, it sucks, but he'll be back. Wide receiver, there is a vacancy there at that third receiver position. And Jordan Addison, with all the trouble he gets in, you could theoretically say, hey, we don't even have a confirmed wide receiver 2 for the future. I think you do. But, I mean, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Tight end sure as hell ain't worth it at 8. But then, like, running back, you're not going to take one at 8. Ashton Genty would be kind of crazy, though. But offensive line, I think you're set. So it's corner, where you do need help. But we do have some really good players that we can snipe down the board. It's not really something you want to hear. But at the same time, I mean, Travis Hunter could be your corner. And, safety-wise, defensive interior, there's nothing worth it. Tyleik Williams technically might be able to make a push. But, dude, that's a big, big amount of room for him to make up, which, to be fair, I took Mason Graham here, but that's because people think Mason Graham's the best player in the draft. I'm not there, but edge rushers filled out, linebacker sure as hell ain't worth it. So the position to target here is cornerback and receiver. And luckily for us, Travis Hunter can make his own decision and fill in pretty much a need for both, which is great. I don't think that he will, because NFL playbooks are crazy, but at least at this point, you're getting somebody that will make an impact. At pick number 9, the Vegas Raiders are sitting on the clock, and quarterback is probably the most likely position that they would target. And Carson Beck did a really, really solid job displaying his playmaking creativity. Now, I do think there are certain points where he still isn't fully on the mark, but he keeps an offense in rhythm, and I think that's the type of quarterback you do want. I still think he's like a better version of Kenny Pickett, but I realistically am starting to change that idea as to a better version of Gardner Minshew. I think that, you are getting an upgrade here, and this team is competitive enough to where if you guys made the playoffs because Gardner Minshew kept you in games and your defense won them, I wouldn't be shocked. So if you can get a better version of that to where your quarterback could arguably keep you in games and pretty much not be the reason you don't lose, but maybe a reason that you could win, I think it's worth it. I really do. And Carson Beck is gaining some ground for me there. So I'm going to be selecting Carson Beck here at pick number 9. Again, there's no slander. I'm not even going to slander Shedeur in this. I know the people who like to lurk and wait for me to slander Shedeur are going to go nuts. I just want to wait for a translatable game for me to reevaluate him because he did a very good job. But he did it versus an FCS team. The best FCS team, still an FCS team. At pick number 10 for the Seahawks, if they are here at 10, quarterback's the option. But let's try to big brain this, right? Let's try to get around this. And something I love you guys for, because a lot of you're fans of one team. You understand the ideologies of these coaches, what they truly want, far more than I maybe ever could know. So you guys really do help me educate me in that. And that's why I want you guys to continue commenting. I always say, be a dick, just don't be a dick about it, right? If I make a bad pick, let me know why. If you think there's a better pick, let me know why. But, I'm here to have fun. Let's have fun together, right? I would rather make a bad pick once rather than continue making it over and over again. And I'm not just going to hear you and you're like, oh, this is a bad pick, pick this guy. I'm not going to just instantly listen to you. But if you have a really good argument where your defensive coordinator, was it your head coach? Your DC. He ended up being hey, you guys know he wants his guy in the secondary. Malachi Starks is that guy. He is a freaking monster. And it makes a ton of sense. You guys have been calling this pick out. That makes sense. If you're saying, hey, for the Saints, Clint Kubiak is someone who absolutely adores run after the catch. That may change my decision between a Tetairoa McMillan, Luther Burden, or I really, really love Bo Collins. I think that guy is going to be a first-round pick, and you guys just need to hop on the hype train early. Just saying. Jaden Higgins, I'm waiting for all 22 because deep down, I just wanted to knock his ass down. I really loved his game. But, I was just there's just not enough tape out there at the moment for me to want to, to be able to reevaluate him. It's just one of those guys where it's you look at him I love that I'm so original, but sometimes I'm dude, I really don't want to be. I know I get under flack from you guys sometimes, but at pick number 11, regardless, jokes aside, I do think an edge rusher's, to me, here are the positions I go after. Wide receiver, edge rusher, offensive line. And I think that's a really good group of players to look at. And luckily, the value is here. I think Nick Scarrett's a great example of what you guys would be looking for here because he brings a proper size profile to the table. He played through an injury, which, Peyton Turner's been extremely unreliable, and then even went on the field, not great. But, I know that you guys bring up Isaiah Foskey. I thought that was really early. I think he's a developmental guy who should be on your team, but should be in that rotation. I think Nick Scarrett's genuinely somebody who should be an edge 2, fringe edge 1. And he will be reevaluated. Again, he tweaked his knee during that game versus Notre Dame, but, he still played through it. And I thought he was probably the best player on Texas A&M. So I'm going to be giving him to you guys. I want to change it up. I always go offensive line. And you know what? Let's try to focus a little bit more on not going offensive tackle back-to-back years, but maybe trying to get some good value down the board and, getting a player who I think is really, really good falling to you at 11. Pick number 12 for the Buccaneers. You could go T-Mac here. Theoretically, if you want to be Mike Evans has one more year left, you want to get Mike Evans 2.0, Tetairoa McMillan might be exactly up your alley, and that's a perfect system fit. He is, in my opinion, going to be Mike Evans. You guys know that overall as a receiver, I don't think he's fantastic. I think in the specific role, like Mike Evans, where he could be a big X, like on the Lions, I think he could be a top 15 receiver in the league. I want to continue emphasizing that because I want to be able to be completely transparent. Receivers are very tough to grade on the same type of scale. It just doesn't, it's very difficult to be able to do that, right? There's receivers that will thrive in the slot. You can't really compare them apples to apples with a receiver like T-Mac. So just keep that in mind. When you watch that top 57 receivers video, like it's 2 hours, 11 minutes, 11 seconds. You guys should go check that out. 57 receivers, each one with a scouting grade, or like you get to see it. And then I actually read one of my scouting reports from the games. So I watched it. It was great. So you guys should definitely check it out. I've actually started adopting that for all of my ranking videos. You guys get to hear an all 22 scouting report per player, which is sick. But regardless of that fact, I think this team definitely needs to focus on the defensive side. They're a good team. They are a good team. And I know I have one Bucs fan who is very much against the fact that I think that, Tampa Bay has some lacking areas. Let's put it that way. But I think the thing about Tampa Bay is that they're a good team in a league with some pretty great teams. And like, that's not saying that they're bad in any way, shape, or form. I think we don't give credit to the other teams for getting better and better as well. So I will be projecting that Mikael Williams will be a perfect target for this team. I like Yaya Diaby. I am not a Joe Tryon Shoyinka guy. I'm going to be going Mikael Williams. So get yourself a big physical edge, 265, who has great length, who has great athleticism, and has a really bright future. At pick number 13 for the Colts, yes, T-Mac and Luther are slipping, and they're both great players. I'm not trying to shit on either of them. It's a really good receiver draft, man. It is. Now, people, I know I don't know if it was Rookie Watch or you guys know one of those bullshit Twitter accounts. They're trying to say, like, this class already might be even better than the 2023 class or 2024 class, excuse me. And it's like, dude, regardless of the fact, they're fucking good. Like, let's just not try to compare them to a legendary class. I'm not fully against that, but it's like, it's a dick move to be able, like, comparison is the thief of joy. Let's just be happy we got some good ass receivers in this class, right? But I digress. For the Colts, corner is a big thing for me. And what's big for them is size, physicality, and overall ability. Siobhan Revell could certainly be that, 6'3", over 190 pounds. Same thing with Tacario Davis. Tacario Davis, I think, is a little bit smarter than Siobhan Revell. Siobhan is a very good corner. I'm not going to crap on Siobhan. I want to be able to highlight Tacario Davis here. Because Tacario, he has a little bit of an issue with his size being able to change directions. And yes, I have Ephesians Prysock, Azariah Thomas, and a couple other corners, maybe a bit above Tacario. But what makes Tacario special is, A, he does fit the physical profile of the Colts. But more importantly, he is just unbelievably smart. Elite processor and really, really good ball skills, which at that size is a massive plus. So I think Tacario Davis, if he ends up continuing to work on his fluidity, which I think in time, with more and more attention, he can be even better. I think he'll be a steal. I really do. Maybe not at 13 because it's kind of tough to get a steal at 13. But I think he'll be certainly a top-end corner one for a team that I think needs a corner one. I think you have a couple corner twos, and you really do need that alpha corner one. And Tacario has that potential to be that in your system. Pick number 14 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think a great option would be one of these receivers. I really do. And I think this team needs receiving talent. At the same time, this team needs a quarterback. It really does. And this team is so good at drafting receivers down the board. Why should we now? Like, stick to your strengths, man. We have not been able to draft quarterback very well. We haven't been able to get him in free agency either. So, as long as we don't, do something stupid, we'll be fine. Now, some people will say going after Shedeur Sanders is stupid here, but I'll give some props to Shedeur. Mind-boggling, right? So what I love about Shedeur is the fact that he has the best processor in the class. Now, there are some other quarterbacks that are improving noticeably in their processor, but that's not to knock Shedeur down. That's honestly to give props to the other quarterbacks for at least giving Shedeur some competition there. He doesn't have the most elite arm. He doesn't have a bad arm. And also, quarterbacks can survive in the NFL without an elite arm. Still something you can mention. People like to hear when there's any form of criticism that someone doesn't like the prospect of the player. The talent-wise, I've had no issues with Shedeur. But it is okay to acknowledge that he doesn't have a plus arm and he doesn't have great mobility. He doesn't have bad mobility. But again, when we're talking about him comparatively to Jalen Milroe, who is almost the antithesis of Shedeur. Not super reliably accurate. Not somebody who will throw with a ton of anticipation. but someone who has a big arm, who is extremely athletic. Like, you're seeing the direct antithesis of Shedeur Sanders right here in Jalen Milroe. That doesn't make Jalen Milroe a better product. As a matter of fact, he is not a better product. What the Steelers need, especially in an Arthur Smith offense, is someone to keep an offense in rhythm. Keep moving the sticks. Know who to throw to and when to throw to them. And that's what Shedeur Sanders does. And this is my team. I have some issues when it comes to some form of entitlement. Not a huge fan of when there's beef with reporters, drama, and I'm not saying just with Shedeur, but with his dad, Dion. But at the same time, I trust Mike Tomlin to handle those personalities better than every other coach in the league. And talent-wise, Shedeur Sanders fits exactly what the Steelers should be looking for. So whether it's the first, whether it's the second, whether it may be even beyond, if Shedeur doesn't have a great year, I do think that Shedeur is the style of quarterback that would work really well with the Steelers. Someone who actually is decisive and can throw to where they want to throw. Don't have to have a Josh Allen arm to make a team like the Steelers really good. There you go. You guys wanted to hear my actual thoughts. Those are my actual thoughts. For the Rams, I think Cooper Kupp is closing in on the end. So I do think that, guys like Luther Burden, Tetairoa McMillan, I know they're completely different styles, but a receiver is not off the table for the Rams. Left tackle could be on the table. And there's some good options available. There is. Like, you got Jack Nelson here. I think that's perfectly fine. Blake Miller had a little bit of a struggle bus day there for Clemson, but he didn't do horribly. He just, run block wise, he still gets over his freaking toes, and he looks like an absolute dingus when he does so. But I digress. I don't think offensive tackle is going to be worth it here. I like Marcus Embo, but I don't think right tackle is what the Rams are going to be looking after either. You could try to look. Well, no, they got two edges. They got their defensive interior set for the most part. You could go after a nose tackle because Dayon, Walker, Kenneth Grant, both those guys are really freaky. And the Rams, by trading 2 second-round picks to be able to essentially, or you use 2 second-round picks, think of it that way, on Braden Fisk, they really care about that defensive interior. And you have Kobe Turner, you have Braden Fisk, but right now at nose tackle, there is a little bit of a lack. If they are really valuing that position that much, which they should, because you had success offensively because of that, Dayon Walker and Kenneth Grant are on the table. And I think they should be. So keep that in mind. I think that's the most likely selection at this point. The Rams do not value linebacker. The Rams have their edges. Safety is not valuable enough for them right now, and they don't even go for the most freaky athletic safeties. Corner, don't think that's a Rams thing to do. So it's really weapon or defensive interior. And I think weapon is a very potentially likely option. But at the same time, this is also one of those classes where I feel comfortable, especially with the receiving core that Rams do have, which is piecing together guys. And I don't think Cooper Kupp's done. So there's still something to tap out there. I really think that Dayon Walker, Kenneth Grant are going to be the guys that the Rams are really into. And I think they're going to go after the more athletic player, which is going to be Kenneth Grant. Really hoping that he and his teammate Mason Graham end up doing better in the coming weeks. Maybe it's just the first week slip up. But, I think they will. And I hope they do. If it continues to be that way, though, they're not going to be worth first-round picks. Just keep that in mind. Jaguars, Tetairoa McMillan all day. I mean, left tackle, super-duper key to bring in here. I could bring Marcus Embo in here and do a great job. But when you have the value of Tetairoa McMillan, who fits this team like a glove, I mean, talk about, he perfectly pairs up with Brian Thomas, who has that deep threat ability, but he's just a dynamic receiver. Tetairoa McMillan brings that size and physicality, and to be fair, I think BTJ does too. But you're looking for that second player on the boundary to bring the power to the table. And Tetairoa McMillan really does that. So I think we could try to take some swings on offensive line in round 2, which, I mean, to be fair, it didn't work the last time Walker Little, but I mean, it didn't end horribly. It's what happens when Walker Little, he's coming off a lot of injuries and, it hasn't been the most reliable player on planet Earth. But for the Browns at number 17, I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball here. The Browns have been you can't go QB. I've wanted to go QB for this team, but based on the restructures, 80 mil and both of the years, just nuts. I'm going to go Ashton Genty. He deserves it. He is the best back in the country. I said it in my running back video where he was my RB4. The only reason he was there is because he fumbled 5 times in 1 year. If he bounces back from that, And he does what he does. Because Georgia Southern's not a slouchy team. It's not like, we're not talking about them on the NFL scale, but he was jaw-dropping versus them. If he continues to do that and doesn't have the fumble problems, there is no doubt in my mind that he will be a top 20 player in this class. Selected top 20 player. So Ashton Jeanty is the selection there. The Browns have heavily relied on like their past running backs. Excuse me. Nick Chubb was a big factor on this team. He's up for a contract this year as well. But then you also get Kareem Hunt when they're that dynamic duo, right? I'm trying to remember Jerome Ford has his moments, right? Dearness Johnson, like running back has been a focal point of the Browns' success, and Ashton Jeanty will continue that. For the Bears, positions I think y'all need. I think you could go after another defense interior if you wanted to, but I really do think it comes down to, like, because you did this by bringing in Darrell Taylor, which I love, but you emphasize the need for edge. And I don't think Darrell Taylor's an edge 2. He was edge 5 on the Seahawks, right? Like, that's a bad look for a team that should be pushing for the playoffs. So I think you're going to be looking at an edge rusher, which you got Princely Umamulan here, who's most likely going to be my selection. Like, looking at the guys who I have available, he is my next best. And, you know, again, these guys have not been reevaluated. Like, I really want to see what Princely does in a more translatable game than versus Furman, right? Like, I'm not gonna really care too much about that. But I do think that edge rusher is super key for the Bears. But I also think offensive line, super key for the Bears. You can get a stud in Tyler Booker. But we do have the 33rd overall pick. I know that we're going to get a good offensive lineman there. The dark horse pick for me is someone like Luther Burden. I don't think Keenan Allen's going to be there for the long run. So Luther Burden would be a really, really solid option. I ended up just posting this week. Like, it's my last video before I post this one. I ended up posting a Bears deep dive. So I ended up talking about that stuff there as well. But I think Luther Burden could be a really, really good option at this point. Kind of like too good to pass on. But I've done Luther Burden a couple of times for the Bears. I will be going after edge here. And I think Princely Umamulan, if he becomes more consistent, could easily be worth a top 10 pick. Easily. He has a beautiful speed to power move. Like, converting speed to power is not an issue for him. It's honestly just being consistently in tune with the speed part. So I'm really hoping he does that. I think he can. And he has excellent ankle flexion. Talk about bend, right? This guy can make a 270-degree turn on a dime. Like, he has the foundation for unbelievable success. And the thing is, he doesn't need to be an edge 1. He's perfectly fine being an edge 2, like, on this team. So I think that's a great move for this team. Like, Darrell Taylor, Princely Umamulan, and Darrell Taylor's, I think, on a contract year as well. But he was a good guy to bring in that rotation. But, you know, Montez Sweat, Princely Umamulan, that's going to be a really strong foundation going forward. People are probably asking, why not Abdul Carter? I thought he underwhelmed in his first performance. He will be getting a full evaluation, but the fact is, one pressure and being a 44 grade, that the worst grade on the defense, not like one of the worst grade on his defense, and PFF grade is not everything, but it is something to factor in. It's just not good. Like, it's his first game as an edge rusher. You got to give him some slack. Absolutely. But at the same time, that's all the information we have at the moment, right? So we can project all we want, and I do think he'll get better, but we're talking about a top 20 pick here. I think we need to continue reframing and understanding that. And for the Chargers at 19, like, Luther Burden might not even get 1,000 yards this year, but it doesn't mean that he's not reliable at all or really talented. He's fantastic. Easily could be the pick here. My problem is I really want him in the slot. Like, he's sub 6 foot. He's 210 pounds. Like, to me, he's a better version of, like, Malachi Corley, right? Because I like Malachi Corley, but Luther Burden could certainly be that. The problem is you already have Ladd McConkey in the slot. I think Ladd could play on the boundary. I think Ladd should play on the boundary. But my feelings don't matter in that equation. This could be the spot where Colston Loveland goes. He has been, like, I think he was thinking about it as like 87 yards on like under 130, like around 70% of his offense's receiving yards. This guy is a focal point. And for the Chargers, they do kind of need a focal point. So it's cheap to go after this because, you get the Harbaugh connection. But the talent is really there. And Colston Loveland is a starting quality tight end. I think he is a top 15 tight end in the NFL the day he comes in. Pick number 20 for the Houston Texans. Again, super hard to let Luther fall here. With trades, he'd be gone. Like, just let's make that clear. He'd be gone. But for the Texans here at pick 20, defensive interior still is a position I really want to hone in on. And Dayone Walker, it's Dayone, or it might be, I think it's Dayone. It's a pain in the ass to pronounce names, guys. It is. Dayone Walker, Tyleik Williams. Those are the two guys I really like for the squad. Granted, I don't really think you need someone who is 340 like Dayone. I think 320 is going to be perfectly fine, and someone who's a little bit more accustomed to a system that is familiar to yours. Tyleik Williams had a fantastic game week 1. Granted, it was not versus elite competition, but he was, if I'm not mistaken, I think he was the highest starter that got the highest grade on his team defensively, and he did a fantastic job. So I really do think defensive interior is just the right position for the Texans. I don't think they'll be at 20. I think they'll be a little bit closer to the Super Bowl. Hot take, not really. Like, I think they're really, really good this year. Some people think CJ will be taking that step back. I'm not really there. But going to Ohio State in the first round didn't fail him last time. I don't think it'll fail him this time either. At pick 21 for the New York Jets. Fuck, dude. I want Luther Burden gone. He's gone at the next pick. I'm just spoiling that right now. He's gone at the next pick. For the Jets, though, like a big receiver would be very, very, very apt. But this is something we can get at pick 53. Someone like Jaden Higgins. I'm not worried about that. I do think an edge rusher could be on their table because Hassan Reddick is being an absolute douchebag. So you could go after Harold Perkins here, who fits that Hassan Reddick role perfectly. And the Jets, I mean, give Saleh a piece like Harold Perkins to play around with. I don't think he's going to say no more than once. He might say like, no, let's look. Okay, we'll do it. So I think that they'll cave a little bit for that. Harold Perkins is a fantastic player. He really is. He is one of the best edge rushers in the class, who also plays linebacker, can also cover. So I really do love that flexibility. I think it's worth taking the shot on there. Normally do it for the Texans, but I wanted to switch things up as well. Falcons, Luther Burden, a heartbeat. I mean, the fact is they still need receiving talent. I don't even give a shit who's there. Like, I really don't. So we're going to be taking them. At pick number 23 for the Miami Dolphins. Nose tackle with like Dayone Walker, or like someone who's not nose tackle, but like a bigger defensive interior threat, could certainly be apt with Dayone Walker. I don't think that's a bad idea. But I still want to look at some other positions. Safety-wise, this class has some really good ones. I think Kevin Winston could be right in this market. And I really like Kevin Winston. I think there's some stuff that he doesn't honestly get criticized for. Yes, Nick's in this. God bless. He doesn't get shredded enough for some of his deficiencies, but I really do like Kevin Winston. But I do think that Nick Amonwori is perfect for this team, and I just doubt he'll be taken in the first. So there's a chance that we can snipe him in the second. I think that's very, very possible. Interior offensive line is the position I say you should go, but it's just so obvious you guys don't select it in the first. Like, there's just no reason for that. But I do think this is a team that likes to focus on receiving talent, because Tyreek said once his contract's done, he's done. And this team has the need for speed. I don't really think that, I mean, you could go like Io Maynor here, and that would be kind of ridiculous. Pretty sure isn't he a Canadian? I think he is. That has nothing to do with this, but it's just, I was thinking about the weird pronunciation. But Isaiah Bond is unbelievably fantastic. And there's a part of me, he's not a slot. He's a boundary, right? Like, you don't want another slot, right? You just brought in, forgetting the kid's name from Virginia, but Malik Washington. You just brought him in. You just brought in like a lot of really interesting talent, right? And a lot of speed as well. I think that there's going to be a focus on bringing in more boundary receiving talent. And Isaiah Bond might not be the biggest guy, but my God, does he fit this team like a glove. He really does. And feel free to push back on this. I respect it if you do. But this is also a team that's very, very solid at a multitude of positions. And I say they should go interior offensive line. But I'm trying to go after the position that they would more likely go after, which is tough because I know I'm going to get criticism for it. But I think Isaiah Bond is that fantastic. I mean, he did such a good job this past week. He got face masked, adjusted his helmet while running his route, and still caught a touchdown. Ridiculous talent. At 24 for the Packers, I'm going to go cheap here. I'm going to go Dayone Walker. Defense interior talent is something that they still could improve upon, especially at like the bigger size of Dayone Walker. He's something that they don't really have readily available. So I'm going to go Dayone Walker. In terms of depth-wise, I think that he's someone worth developing. 6'6", 340 pounds, elite pass rushing potential. Just worth taking the shot on, man. Like receiver, certainly could have been the pick there, but it's just also not very a Packers thing to do. Dallas Cowboys at 25, running back is still on the table, but I'm going to hold off on that because I think wide receiver too, especially with the amount of money that CD just got. If you could save some dollars, right? Like just save your cash, homie. And for this one, like, oh, I hate that they don't have him in here. I think Bo Collins is the guy. It's going to be Bo Collins or it's going to be like Io Maynor. And Io Maynor is a freaking monster, right? Like he got over 100 yards on a Stanford offense that I think completed 9, maybe 15 passes. Like he ended up catching 7 of them. So he is a big part of that offense. He is their like reliable piece. And I think it's more likely they'll go that way, right? Fehoko didn't work out from here last time, but Io Maynor is better than Fehoko. So we'll go after Io Maynor here. At 26 for the Eagles, a team that does not need much. There are a couple positions to know. There's tight end. Oscar Delpley didn't do jack shit. I don't think any of these tight ends really did anything this past week, which sucks because they have all the talent in the world, like the ones that played NFL translatable games. But I also think edge rusher is pretty key. And you have to have some coverage ability. So I am looking at Jalen Walker here as the big riser, not Abdul Carter. Abdul Carter kind of fits what you're looking for, right? You look at someone that Vic likes. It's, somebody who does bring that coverage ability, that speed. You want your Andrew Van Ginkel almost, right? That's not going to be the case. You want somebody who brings a little bit of physicality, a little bit of size. I think it's Jalen Walker to a T. And I know that I'd probably send him to the Lions. I'd even debate sending him to the Niners, which the Niners like guys a little bit bigger, but still is the case. Like, I think that this is a guy who will be going in the first round. I think he could be better than Mikael Williams, but he's a little bit on the lighter side. For those of y'all who don't know, he's 245. He's a hybrid linebacker, which also kind of something that, you just drafted a safety who would transition to edge there in Jalen Hunt. So the flexibility certainly matters. I think Jalen Walker is fantastic. You could look at developmental offensive line here, but I just think the Eagles are going to be focusing on edge rusher at this point. At 27 for the Lions, edge rusher is super duper key. That left guard spot is also super key. You can get someone like Tyler Booker. I think this team just values their offensive line so much, and they do it appropriately so. I think deservedly so. They do a fantastic job. It's edge rusher, it's wide receiver, it's interior offensive line. I don't see a receiver apart from Bo Collins, who I think would do a fantastic job on this team. But I just don't see them drafting a receiver in the first. Like, it's Bo Collins, it's Tyler Booker, and it's another edge rusher, which, Abdul Carter might work really well. But there are guys like Danny Dennis Sutton that you could draft down the board that bring that size and physicality profile at that edge 2 position, or you could even go to free agency for it. Guards are getting paid $25 million a year. The top ones. I mean, apart from Sam Cosby, God only knows how the hell he only got paid 17. No freaking idea how the Commanders did that. They have some dirt on them, but this is a valuable position now to draft. And I know the Lions would be perfectly fine drafting a top tier interior offensive lineman who I have at number 8 overall on my board. 28 for the Bengals. I still think they could try to upgrade offensive line, like deep down between you and me. I think that's on the table. You could look at like a developmental edge rusher here. The edge rushing crew certainly could use some help. But I think that wide receiver, T. Higgins hasn't been paid yet. You have to pay Jamar as well. There's not a way that you could feasibly really keep a solid team while continuing to pay all these dudes. This is where I do think you start looking at some extra receiving talent. And the guy who I will be selecting here, I think, is Bo Collins from Notre Dame, formerly Clemson. So we'll have to use a placeholder here. Theo Weiss, I can guarantee you, will not be selected in this. So Theo, because I love Missouri players, will be the placeholder for my number 10 player in the class, Bo Collins. Bo Collins is the best release package. He is the best release package I've ever seen from a receiver in college. Great positioning, super explosive, a little bit limited on the top speed there. That's kind of my only issue with him. But he generates separation pretty damn well by, just putting himself in the right position. And that's how you kind of win in the NFL. The quarterbacks also throw you open. So if you're in a good position, you give the quarterback an easier time making sure that they put you in the best position as well. Buffalo Bills at 29. This is where Abdul Carter could come into play. Edge rusher is a position I think they really need to focus on, but also it's a little bit slim pickings at the moment. So another position I could see is some defensive back help. Kevin Winston could bring the boom. Think about him and forgetting the Utah kid's name you drafted in the second round. Why am I forgetting him? I got to meet him in person too. That sucks. I keep seeing Billy Bowman wanting to call him Billy Bowman because it's just like it looks just like him. But you guys know who I'm talking about. Second round kid, Utah safety. Like that could be a dynamic duo for the future. And I think that wouldn't be a bad idea. At the same time, you could try to go for a power back here. Quinshon Judkins. You think about it. I mean, pairing him up there with James Cook could be the relief that you're looking for. But also, wide receiver is not out of the equation. I just think there's too many receivers that have gone. There's just too many. Don't force it. I love Jaden Higgins. He ain't going in the first round. As much as I want him to. He ain't going in the first. So let's go after edge rusher here. And looking at the guys who are available, I think this is a time where I could feel comfortable enough with Abdul because this team really, really needs it. And Abdul, he's used to the cold weather. Like, you might say, oh, that's like very trivial, but that's a big thing. It is a big issue. Like, some guys just can't play very well in cold weather. It's a high value position. It's somebody who does have pass rushing upside. He is my edge 9, but getting him at 29 is not a bad deal if he can really work with Greg Rousseau, who also was very raw coming into the league, and develop into somebody truly special. At pick number 30 for the Baltimore Ravens, I'm going to be going probably offensive line here. Roger Rosengarten had a tough time, but it was versus Chris Jones. Like, no shit, Sherlock. I didn't see him out there for the rest of the game. If I'm not mistaken, he probably got injured, so I hope he didn't get benched. You guys can let me know about that one. But Marcus Embo is someone who I am considering here and just saying, like, we might try to kick him to left tackle because I really have a lot of faith in him. He's my number 1 offensive lineman in the class at the moment. But I think a more likely option would be Donovan Jackson here. Like, to me, that just makes sense. Of course, you could try to get rid of Marlon Humphrey's bum ass and then just go back-to-back first-round corners here with Denzel Burke. And, you know, having him and Nate Stickbug Wiggins is the nice dynamic duo. Not a bad idea. I think that's actually a pretty damn good idea. So, you know what? We're going to do it. Like, screw you, Marlon. I'm freaking looking back at freaking Mahomes when the ball's already in Xavier Worthy's hands. But Denzel Burke's fantastic. It would be my pick for the 49ers probably, you know? So you're also disarming a competitor. But at pick 31 for the Niners, you know, not a team that needs a ton. But this is, I hate it because I'm not the biggest Niners guy on planet Earth. Because one of my former best friends, he's a big Niners guy. So I grew up not loving the Niners because I got to hear an earful every time they did a good job. But, you know, they deserve it. They deserve a right tackle for once. Marcus Embo, he's actually coming on the show. Like, not for this video, but I'm doing a phone interview with him today. So that should be really fun. But that'll be posted with probably a mock the mock because it will be a little bit shorter than this. But we're going to use Xavier Truss as the placeholder value because they don't have Marcus in here. But my number 7 player in the class, Marcus Embo, right tackle out of Purdue. Fantastic player. Going to be the selection there. At pick 32 for the Kansas City Chiefs, a team that doesn't really need very much, but defensive interior, it's the easy thing to go after, guys. It's low-hanging fruit. Bear Alexander, if he ends up becoming more, his motor gets better, definitely worth it. My only issue is that Bear Alexander didn't even start this week. Kind of crazy, right? But looking at other options, they just paid Gray, so unfortunately tight end would have been like my cop-out option. I do think that interior offensive line, not a bad position to go. Trey Smith's not going to be there. Just costs too much. It's going to be $25 million. So look at the options available. You got Jaden Roberts here. Jaden Roberts needs some development, but my God, is he powerful. He fits right away. He's like the most powerful offensive lineman that Bama has. Like they'd say, he's the biggest lifter. And then Donovan Jackson. Could you switch him to right guard? I think so. So you're really debating between power and, you know, a higher floor with similar upside. I would lean Donovan, but you also have to switch positions. I know what I'm getting with Jaden, and I think I'd be fine with that. I'm going to go Jaden Roberts here. It's a unique pick, but I think it's one that he needs to be a first-round pick. The talent's too damn good there. I'll scroll down a little bit so you guys get a little bit more to see. But at pick number 33 for the Bears, we already went after edge rusher. Hallelujah. Based on the amount of edge rushers I took, I do not regret doing that at all. So I think the options available are another receiver, also a safety. And Kevin Winston, not necessarily going to be a Byard replacement. Just going to say that right now. I don't think he's going to be a Byard replacement. So looking at the other options that I think would be great, dude, Keon Saub, we're going to get him at 50. Yeah, Keon Saub's going to be my pick 50. If I don't take him before that, that's my only concern, is that can I take Keon Saub before that? I mean, the fact that I'm really heavily considering it at 33 makes me think so. But I think that this team could be able to snipe some defensive talent down the board. I'm going to go offensive line here. I was talking up Donovan Jackson for multiple picks before this. There is some potential departures there on the interior of the offensive line with Tevin Jenkins. So I'm going to go Donovan Jackson here. It's just a talented, high-floor offensive lineman with a very high ceiling. I mean, he's literally my number 9 player in the class, so why not go after the best, right? At pick number 34 for the New England Patriots, edge rusher is still the position I really want to fill in, but I just don't trust it, man. I just don't. Like, don't force an issue, right? Because you're just going to continue having that issue. But we had got offensive line. I think that was the biggest thing to address. I think another corner is certainly on the table, and I don't think that'd be a bad move at all. And looking at the talent level of Siobhan Revell at 6'3", 193, like that's just someone who's worth taking a swing on. It feels so Patriots to go after the smaller school guys as well and hit on them, right? You look at Kyle Duggar, for example. I mean, whoa, where was he from? I think he might have been not from D2. I think he was from D2. So you end up being able to snipe a really, really good player here. He's my corner 14, but it's such a tight race that he could easily be a top 10 corner for me just with the snap of his fingers. And you guys know I have some weird ass corners in my top 10. So, keep that in mind as well. But for the Broncos, they ended up going Ben Morrison, right? They ended up going Ben Morrison. I love Ben Morrison. I think they could go after another defensive back here in Kevin Winston. I really do think so. I like PJ Locke. Not really a fan of, damn it, I keep slipping up on names at the moment, but y'all know who I'm talking about. I think you could upgrade with Kevin Winston here, or Nick Amon-Wari, who's 6'3", 230 pounds, and probably will be running in the 4.3s. I do think offensive line's key, though. Emory Jones slipped, but I really think Ariante Ursary is probably going to be the guy that's a bit more attractive. He's a really heavy downhill blocker, and left tackle Garrett Bowles is open. Emory Jones is a right tackle who might not even be a tackle. Ariante Ursary, I think he should be a guard early on, but I do think he's a tackle over time. And if you want to throw him into that position and just basically say, like, hey, we're going to have an offense on the move, because he's really good blocking on the move. That's something that I think will end up being a net positive. At number 36 for the Titans, ended up going after, what do we do? James Pearson the first. I was even debating freaking Emory Jones back at pick 4. I'm going to be doing it here at 36. I think it's worth taking the selection. Jaden Roberts over Emory Jones, I think is perfectly fine. Jaden Roberts fits a little bit more than Emory because he is just pure power. He feels more Trey Smithy than Emory Jones, by the way. I mean, it doesn't even matter theoretically, but I think that, Jaden Roberts, I'm not regretting that pick at all. But Emory Jones, taking him as a potential right tackle, have to right guard for the Titans. That's an instant win right there. Finish up those trenches. Pick number 37 for the Giants. Kevin Winston still is an option here as well. My best player available is Jack Kaiser, Jaden Higgins, but those are also guys, David Benson. Those are also my guys, right? So I'm not looking at the next guy who's not my guy. Would probably be a Sebastian Castro and Jack Nelson as well. So unfortunately, the right tackles are kind of off the board. Otherwise, I'd consider it for the Giants here at 37. We went after a quarterback in the first in Cam Ward. So we're doing well on that front. I do think wide receiver, you still could be arming up with bigger receivers. Jaden Higgins, perfectly fine for me in this equation. Somebody who I might be taking is Colby Young, Georgia receiver. I love that kid. Love him. He actually fits what the Giants should be looking for, probably round 3. But other ways to look for this team to boost them, I mean, corner. They've been looking for a boundary corner for a while. They signed Adoree Jackson to a 1-year deal. So looking at the best corners available, realistically, I think Quincy Riley could be in this equation. He's somebody who, like, I thought that he was just a little bit slower play-wise than what his testing numbers, because he's a track guy. He's really freaking fast on the field. His testing numbers proved differently than what my eyes saw play-wise, and at least he has that in him. So he's certainly somebody I'd bring to the table, because that was my one concern with him. It's like, hey, I just don't fully trust your athleticism on the field. But the fact is he has that athleticism. So if you can find a way to tap into it and make it better, this is going to be worth it. 6 foot, 195, big hitter, super smart. IQ is going to be his thing. Pick number 38 for the Commanders. It's another team that Quincy Riley actually would have been really, really good for. But developing the trenches, super key. I just don't really trust going after JT Tuimoloau over getting another top-tier corner. And those top-tier corners available are Ephesians Prysock and Azariah Thomas. Azariah Thomas did a pretty damn solid job. He only allowed 10 yards in the game for Florida State most recently. Well, actually, off the top of my head, that was for week 1 versus Georgia Tech, because they ended up playing after I did my studs and duds, so to speak. But he did not end up doing poorly, because I would have put him on my stock down list. Somebody who I think is going to be a big riser, because he's 6'2", 194, and he flies. So I think someone who would actually really work for the Commanders would be Azariah Thomas, Florida State corner. So screw you, Fentrell Cypress. We're going to use you as a placeholder. He sure as hell is not a second-round corner, but this is going to be Azariah Thomas, corner out of Florida State. At pick number 39 for the Arizona Cardinals, edge rusher is super key for this team at this point. I mean, the injuries, the lack of depth. I mean, this is where you might want to start reaching. And Kamen Rucker, to me, is perfectly fine for this team. We're going to go Kamen Rucker here. He's probably a top 40 on my board. Where is he at? Kamen Rucker, 41. Whoop-de-doo. So, really do like his game, though. But he brings some extra edge rushing talent to the table. Really good pressure numbers. But at pick number 40 for the Bills, we ended up going after Abdul Carter in the first. Deep down, I might just say, screw it. We're going to go Kevin Winston here. And, dude, it really pisses me off that I can't remember your safety's name off the top of my head. But, pairing him up there with that dynamic young duo, they're both big hitters as well. Super duper key. So I do think that would be a good option. But I also think Quinshon Judkins deserves to go at this point. And I think he'd be a hardcore Buffalo Bill. We're going to be going that route. Pick number 41 for the Las Vegas Raiders. We went after a quarterback in round number 1 with Carson Beck. And I think that's a solid move. I really do. He's looking better and better. And that's not recency bias. I really do think he's doing better. So for me, I want to just go best player available. And Jack Kaiser certainly is that. I don't think that's a bad idea to go Jack Kaiser at this point, because he's a rock solid linebacker. Like, this is a dude who will be really, really good for you. So keep that in mind. I don't think that's a position I would shy away from. He does a damn good job. Nick Amon-Wari with that safety range would be nutty as all hell. But, you could look at some extra offensive tackle depth. Don't really think you need to. Defense interior, you got that covered. Like, there's some other positions you could try to target. Running back, actually, at this point, isn't a bad idea. Ollie Gordon could work in tandem there with Zeus White. Getting your home run hitter at this point, why not? Ollie Gordon, I think, is a little bit more scheme specific than what people want to agree with, but this is a really nice 1-2 punch to where I think it could work. So at pick number 42 for the Seahawks, we ended up going after Malachi Starks in round 1. Do we have any offensive tackles available? We still do have Jack Nelson on the board, but right tackle with Savania, Blake Miller, both of them are available. I like Blake Miller a lot. He just really struggled week 1. So I don't know. I think it would be better at this point just to patch it up with free agency or take a swing on a guy later on. Like, just not really worth it, in my opinion. You got Malachi Starks. That's what you needed. If you're at 10, you're going to be going a QB. So let's look at the guys who are available. Drew Allar, man. He's somebody who's improved noticeably. When I first started seeing the clips, I'm like, dude, the ball placement still ain't there. It really still isn't. And on that first couple drives, I'm like, dude, this guy is shanking absolutely open targets. And I really do think, I've seen his progression. You should have seen his throwing motion. There's a video on it. His throwing motion from high school, Garbo. He's really worked on that. I love seeing quarterbacks that continue working on themselves. But I've always been the guy who says Drew Allard can hit a still target perfectly. It's when they start moving where he has trouble. And I still think that is true to some degree, but it has gotten better. So I appreciate that about Drew, and I think it will continue to get better as the year goes on. That's a big win. I see him working every year in the offseason. I wouldn't take him away of the Seattle Seahawks being able to take him here, but I just don't know if he fits perfectly. I wanted to give Drew a shout out. He will be taken most likely in this, but look at the other quarterbacks available. I need to see Jalen Daniels in a more translatable game. Super excited for him, but, got to see it. And Jalen Milroe is a perfect fit. I'm not the biggest Jalen Milroe guy, but at the same time, he fits Seattle. And y'all love him. I'll give him to you. I know you've been fiending for me to give you Jalen Milroe. We'll give you Jalen Milroe. At pick number 43 for the Saints, Kevin Winston's still here. I mean, I'm not overly surprised about that. Kevin Winston's a really good player, but I do think offensive line's perfect here. And you know who's here. I'm running to the podium with this. Jack Nelson. He's a top 20 player on my board. I just haven't updated it, but you get a top tier left tackle. And then you get yourself, you also get to move Tully back to right tackle. Absolute steal. Good job, Saints. You guys got two of my top players in the class. Pick number 44 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I ended up going after an edge rusher in round number 1. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Mikael Williams, this team needs it. Corner, certainly on the table. A wide receiver, certainly on the table. Running back, also on the table. I do think Trevor Etienne gets underrated. I think he's a beast, but regardless of the fact, I do think this team should be also looking for a future at linebacker. I mean, with Jack Kaiser's value, I think that's fantastic. But I also understand, I think where the team really lacks is that corner position. I just, if you are sitting at number 12 overall or number 11 overall, I'm forgetting which spot it was, you need a corner. That's the reason why you're there. So looking at the options that are available, which I'm not selecting any of the guys who are available right there. Ephesians Prysock's perfect to me. He's 6'4". I don't know why he's not included. To me, that really mind boggles me. Tony Grimes is going to be the placeholder value because shout out to UNLV, great school. But as Ephesians Prysock, my number 12 overall player in the class, he just is someone who's athletically a little bit capped, which is a little bit different than what the corners that you normally go for is, but the value is incredible. Unbelievably smart, very fluid, just somebody who is reliable and good run support as well. 6'4". Just got to keep bringing that to the table. For the Colts at number 45, Kevin Winston still on the table and still someone who I really think could be a big win for this team. Oh, fucking love Keon Saab. Nick Amon Wari, though. This team loves size and athleticism, especially hard to pass up 6'3", 227. Really hard to pass that up. We're going to go Nick Amon Wari here. He's my top safety in the class, mainly due to his athleticism, but holy crap, that guy flies. At pick 46 for the Steelers, this is where we can choose our receiving talent as well. Look at the guys who are still here, right? We can go Emeka. If Emeka's healthy all year, I absolutely think this is a great pick. I just don't fully trust that he'll be healthy all year. Jaden Higgins to me is that guy. He really is. He's my number 3 player in the class. And the Steelers don't always go after the biggest of the biggest names. They always go after the guys oh, that guy's really good. He's a good guy to snipe later on. And usually the Steelers are the guys to be able to draft that. I think Jaden Higgins is that guy. Still got to wait to see how he's doing this year. But the Steelers getting a 6'4", 215-pound target that uses physicality really well. Really, honestly, very well balanced all around. Solid catching statistics as well. That's someone who's just really reliable and let the slot develop as it is, and then let George Pickens do his thing as the number 1 receiver. I think Jaden Higgins as a number 2 is ridiculously good. He's my number 3 player in the class. Pick 47 for the Panthers. Got our star corner. I love that for us. But also, offensive line still probably needs some help. Looking at the options, just go to free agency, man. You spent last year in free agency. Just continue doing that. Just go back to the well. Safety certainly could be on the market, but honestly, linebacker. I don't know why you got rid of Michael Barrett, man, but linebacker is an area that I don't think is fully secured for the future. And Jack Kaiser is my number 4 player in the class. I think I want to give you the best player in the class for me. So we're going to go Jack Kaiser here. At 48 for the Jaguars, offensive line is kind of a must at this point. I didn't really feel like it's right for the Panthers because you need to hit immediately, and you need someone who's really freaking good. For the Jaguars, I trust them developing a little bit better. And also, T-Law is kind of used to a crappy offensive line, so there's a little bit more lenience for that. That's where I feel comfortable with Blake Miller. He had some struggles for sure, but he, to me, is one of the better tackles in the class. I think he's top 64 on my board. I'm forgetting where I have him. 54. So, definitely somebody who I have a lot of faith in. And so we're going to be taking him here. Right tackle, we'll be kicking Anton back to his native left, which technically he was a native right, then he went to native left, and now he's back to native right. But he'll be going back to left where he was at Oklahoma. Pick number 49 for the Browns. Ended up going after a running back in round number 1. Super exciting. Kevin Winston, really good value here. Certainly could see them trying to just target it and say, screw it. Edge rusher is a position they've still tried to develop more and more and more. I could certainly see them. They're trying to extend Jedrick Wills, apparently. That's about to come out and about. So I could see them try to go interior offensive line, save some money there. But looking at other positions, they do have some cornerback contracts coming up, and I don't think they're going to be able to pay all of them. This is just a good team. Let's just agree to that. It's a very good team. I actually think Kevin Winston, they're going to go BPA here. I really do. Like, they have multiple safeties in rotation all the time anyways, and this is someone who could bring the boom. He's an AFC North guy, so I want to make sure that he stays in the AFC North. Pick number 50 for the Bears. We have gone after offensive line as well as edge rusher. I think those are the two keyest positions. And wide receiver, Emeka Egbuka is phenomenal value. But I said Keon Saab before, and I literally not TMI because it doesn't happen in real life. But this is like a wet dream, so to speak. Poor phrasing. How about that? That's the way I should have said it. Poor phrasing. This is a wet dream. This is perfect. This is my dream draft, arguably, for the Bears. It would actually be Nick Scourton, and then it would probably be Donovan Jackson, and then it would be Keon Saab. Maybe you could throw Jack Nelson in there, but I mean, Donovan Jackson's fantastic. And then you get Keon Saab. That is a trio for the ages. Keon Saab is a perfect Byard replacement. He had 2 interceptions this past week and a pass breakup. This dude's an absolute baller. Pick number 51 for the Chargers. Keon Saab might have been my selection for them there. They went after Colson Loveland in round number 1. And here, I think Barrett Alexander could be the choice. Defense interior is a little bit thin at the moment for the draft. Emeka Egbuka is the right option. We'll go back to Ohio State and draft a really, really talented player. The only reason he's here is because of health. I mean, he just wasn't healthy last year. He didn't look very much himself last year. And the best ability is availability. So we'll see what happens there. But they do need to boost their receiving talent, and they just did with 2 really key pieces. Technically 3 if you count in, the guy that they just got in the second round, Ladd McConkey. So pick number 52, Texans. Linebacker is going to be my pick. It's Jack Kaiser. I already took Jack Kaiser. I'm tripping balls. I was all hyped for it. Barrett Carter's right up there too. So I'm not instantly going there. Barrett Carter is my linebacker too in this class. So that's somebody who we definitely need to consider, especially for a team that is this loaded. I do think that a top tier corner too, because I do think that Kamari should go in the slot because it's really good slot receivers. You could end up just saying, hey, we're going to get a pure slot corner here in Sebastian Castro, but he might get toasted in the slot. That's my only concern. Actually, you know what? I really like the idea of going Barrett Carter. I want these linebackers to go so badly to a coach that really uses them properly. And D'Amico, I really have faith in him. Barrett Carter is better than Christian Harris coming out, and I like Christian Harris. So Christian Harris has done a pretty damn good job, in my opinion. Pick number 53 for the New York Jets. A bigger-bodied receiver who has good contested catch ability. Probably going to be where I'm looking at. Trey Harris could be in that market there, but let's look at the receivers that I have on mine. Ricky White certainly ain't going to be there. Jalen Royals is, though. I really like Jalen Royals. He has over 60% contested catch rate. That's someone who I have a lot of faith in. Again, this is based on overall grading. I think Andrew Armstrong's out for the year, so a lot of this does need to get updated. But, this is not role-specific grading, which would have shifted this up big time. Just giving you guys a little bit of a hint there. But actually, Kyron Lacy is someone who I really like as well. But screw it, we're going to go Jalen Royals here. He has over 60%. He's not big enough. He's not big enough. You need someone who's 6'3". We'll actually look somewhere else. We'll have some fun. We'll go quarterback. Because, it just depends on how long Aaron... I think quarterback's good to look at. Tight end's actually not a bad spot to look at right now. I don't think the Jets have their future at tight end. So, I mean, I don't think they'll go quarterback. Aaron Rodgers will be like, I'm playing for a couple more years. Don't fuck with me. And it's like, hey, power to you, bro. So I think the next guy to go would be Mitchell Evans. Mitchell Evans is a fantastic tight end. It went down with a leg injury at the end of last year, so that sucks. But Oscar Delp has proven to kind of be a non-factor. If I'm going to say anything, I think Luke Lucky, he's going to be number 7, the other tight end for Georgia, will be the higher selected of the two maybe. But we'll see about that. I don't know. Luke Lucky might even be a sophomore. But when they get drafted, I think he might be the better one. Atlanta Falcons, 54. We ended up selecting Luther Burden. Yeah, that's a good pick. So looking at the next best corner, we've already taken my top corners here. My next best corner is Kobe Bryant or Jabbar Muhammad. I could end up taking Jabbar here. That's not a bad idea. Jason Marshall, I don't think that he played well enough to be able to demand this. Domani Jackson. How is he not on here? We're using another placeholder. Screw you, Jordan Hancock. We're going, actually, Davison Igbenison's here too. You know what? That makes more sense. Domani Jackson's great. Davison Igbenison, cornerback out of Ohio State, my number 6 player in the class. He's a selection here. He is one of my top corners, my number 3 corner in the class. Just like really, really solid all around. But, go back to the corner video to check that one out. Davison Igbenison's going to be my guy. At 54, I think that's perfectly good value. 55 for the Dolphins. This is where I think they can take an offensive lineman. Finally. Jonah Monheim, he's okay. He's a good player, but it's Brailford, it's Slaughter. Those are the guys who I really, really like. I think those are the guys who I probably take at the moment. Looking at Jonah Savanea, getting a tackle and pushing him into guard, it's just sexier. It really is. And Jonah is that type of guy that I really trust there. At 56 for the Packers, again, a team that doesn't need jack shit, in my opinion. Like, you just really don't. Looking at the corner talent available, you're going to be getting sloppy seconds all day at this point. Safety talent, you already paid so much for that defensive back group, man. Linebacker, you could try to address some extra talent. This is where I could see a running back or a receiver. And Antoine Wells is fun. There's certainly really, really good talents here. Deion Burks is fantastic. But, Jonah Coleman actually is such a Packer. But you just paid, damn. What's up with y'all? What's up with y'all paying dudes that you don't need to? You're ruining my draft philosophy here. But Deion Burks, I think, would be a really good option. This is where I'm going to go Jalen Royals. Utah State wide receiver. Julian Fleming will be the placeholder. But yeah, Jalen Royals, wide receiver out of Utah State. He is great contested catch. I think they'd work really well with that receiving crew. Doesn't really solve the issue, but it certainly gets some extra talent there. For the Dallas Cowboys, I don't know if they can keep Dak. I just don't know financially if they'll be able to. But let's just assume they do. They do need a running back. They do. You can't say they don't. And look at the guys available. Amarian Hampton, awesome. But Jonah Coleman and Trevor Etienne are my next best guys. Trevor Etienne's that pure home run hitter. I don't think that's going to be their guy. I think Jonah Coleman's going to make a massive push-up. And you might be like, you're giving us the 129th ranked player at 57. Do y'all not realize that this is not my board? I swear. And Jonah Coleman is really, really good. Where's Jonah? Where is he? The hell you at, Jonah? He's up here somewhere. Oh, he's 51. So, really big fan of his game. 58 for the Eagles. Probably tight end. I think that's the right thing to do. Tyler Warren's going to be my dude here. Penn State, first off. We are. But first round ended up going after edge rusher and Jalen Walker. Right here, going to be going after Tyler Warren. You guys usually draft tight ends at this point, especially with your tight end 2 spot, in my opinion, needs some extra work. So Tyler Warren, really good receiver. Definitely someone who I think is going to be on the up. Needed to be more consistent from last year, and I think he will be this year. 59 for the Lions, edge rusher. I was talking about it. We're going to go JT Tuimoloau. You need to get it. Went guard first round, edge rusher second. Pick number 60 for the Bengals. Also a spot where I could see them trying to now target an edge. In the first round, we had them going after a wide receiver. And not Theo Weiss, but in Bo Collins. For pick number 60 for the Bengals. Again, the team doesn't need that much. I will be going running back here. And I think Trey Henderson could be a really cool option. Trevor Etienne could be. Man. I think they'll go after someone like Amarian Hampton. I really do. So we'll go Amarian Hampton there. He's going to be producing a ton. Pick number 61 for the Bills. we've already gone after multiple positions. I think we just haven't really hit the receiver position yet. We've gone after Quinshon Judkins, and then we've also went after Abdul Carter. Like, I mean, Trey Harris isn't not a bad option. I want to see. This is where I'm going to go Colby Young, receiver out of Georgia. You know, we're going to use Will Shepard as the placeholder. Colby Young, wide receiver, Georgia. You need someone who's contested catch reliable, and that dude's a freaking baller. Pick number 62 for the Baltimore Ravens, a team that did a really good job last night. Really good job. I like what you guys brought to the table. First round, we ended up getting Stickbug Wiggins, a partner in Denzel Burke. We need to go offensive line right now. And I want to go after a tackle. Not great options on the table, if I'm going to be blunt. Not great. You know, interior offensive line wise, Parker Brailsford's pretty damn sick. I like Parker Brailsford. But, you know, tight end, you got fixed for the future. Running back, you could go after someone like Trevor Etienne here. It's just going to be tough to continue to take running backs at this point. You already went after defensive back. Don't really need that anymore. Linebacker, I really like what you guys are doing at this point. Edge rusher, not out of the equation, but I wouldn't say it should be in the equation. This is a trade-out spot through and through, but I'm just going to potentially look at another receiver here. God, man, you just don't really need much. We're going to force an offensive tackle. Force it. Josh Simmons is a really solid offensive tackle. Josh Connerly is going to be the more likely option, but Josh Simmons has the better frame, and he has the technical foundation down. I just want him to get, and he's also a left tackle too. Same thing Connerly, but he has the technical foundation down. He just needs to be a little bit better at applying it. Pick 63 for the Niners. Danny Stutzman might not be a bad option to put at Sam linebacker at this point. First round ended up getting Marcus Embo, which is sick. Xavier Truss was the placeholder. And at this point, not a bad option. Not a bad option. So I'll keep that in mind. I do think a Sam linebacker is not super duper valuable. But at the same time, dude, the value's there. Go for it. We're going to go Danny Stutzman. I haven't done that before, so I want to hear what you guys think. And at 64, finally ending off the draft after multiple hours of doing this, we get the Chiefs. And, you know, we already went interior offensive line. It's pretty easy to cop out and go interior defensive line here. But I think that's smart. And Walter Nolan is just a stud. So I hate to be boring because I think I did that in my last draft too. But I wanted to bring you guys one whole ass mock draft because I didn't post for the past couple days. My mom's been in town, so I wanted to be able to spend some time with her. But I want to give you guys a nice, long, chunky video that's full of a lot of analysis. So that's going to be the draft. Thank you so much for watching. I love y'all. See you on the far side. Peace.